It's PyramKing, and I'm excited to bring you another guide to Curse of Strahd. This one is the Tser Pools. Now, first, a shout out to my Patreon supporters. It's your support that allows me to continue to put these guides together, including Foundry Adventure modules. That's right, each one of these guides is also a module, includes the map, the lights, the walls, the guides, the roll tables, everything you need to import right into Foundry and enjoy this campaign. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon member, there's a link down below. It's patreon.com/PyramKing. So thank you very much. So let's just jump into this, shall we? First of all, we have this gorgeous animated Theater of the Mind map by James RPG Art. I do suggest you get these. He's done an entire series for Curse of Strahd. They're really gorgeous, and they really bring us into the scene. There's a link down below to James RPG Art's Patreon. So let's jump right into this map and talk about where our location is. First of all, another shout out to DM Andy, his gorgeous battle maps that he provides to us to put into our Foundry Adventure modules. They're gorgeous, but he also makes them in with grid list, night, day. So if you're playing on a tabletop or another role-playing system, head over to DM Andy's Patreon page. There's a link down below. So what's really interesting about Curse of Strahd is we have these primary locations, the village of Barovia, Vallaki, some other towns, but there's these locations that we visit in between them. Now, normally in role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons, when we're going between two important locations, we have a road and we roll a random encounter to have a random encounter on the road when we're camping. But in Curse of Strahd, there's some unique locations, and unfortunately, well, Curse of Strahd doesn't really flush them out too much, other than the fact that it's a unique location. One of the first ones we notice is the crossroads between the village of Barovia and the Tser Pool Vistani camp. And there's not much there, so I put an entire guide, put 4 encounters and a special event there to really flesh it out. And I think these places between major points are a great way to add some additional lore, give some players some clues, create some unique encounters. Some of them can be combat encounters, and that's what we're doing right here with the Tser Falls. But let's talk about where the Tser Falls is located on the big map. So this is the map of Barovia, and the area that we're talking about is right here. Is this falls right here? So you can see here's the Tser Pool Vistani camp. Your players have most likely been here. They had their card reading. They're going to head up this path to the foot of this bridge here. Now, the other way around from the village of Barovia is to take the long way around, and so you have 2 entrances to the south side of the bridge, and on the north side of the bridge you have this exit. And if we move up north, we'll see that this takes us to the western gates of Barovia. If we head east, that's Castle Ravenloft, and if you end up going west, you pass the windmill and you end up at Vallaki. There's the bone grinder here in Vallaki. So what's important to note is you're going to have to cross this bridge. The players are going to have to cross it, and it's a unique geographical feature and landscape to have some interesting, fun stuff there. And we've got this gorgeous battle map. So let's jump into it really quickly. Again, let me bring up the Tser Falls notes here. We have, and DM Andy's gorgeous map, we have the signpost here. So again, the signpost to the east is pointing, this is the wraparound road that goes down and around to the village of Barovia. Here it goes back towards the Vistani camp at the Tser Pools, and north is to Vallaki. If we cross the bridge over here, we'll see another signpost. This is pointing, west towards Vallaki, that goes west and eventually curves north, and this one heads south, points to the village of Barovia. So I put the signposts and some descriptions here. The bridge sits 100 feet over the falls here. In Foundry, I've got the rain mechanic going on, and I've got some lighting effects that kind of give the water a little bit of animation feel to it as you're on this map. In addition, we have, you might be able to hear it, I can't, but you might be able to hear it, is the Tser Falls sound effects going on in the background. So what's interesting here is we have 4 unique encounters to this location, and I've set this up to give you as much creative freedom and liberty as you want. Now, if you want to just do a simple no prep and just do it right in the campaign when they get there, I've got a simple random encounter. You just roll table and you just roll to see which one of these 4 random encounters come up. Something's glimmering in the water below near the falls. So this gives you like a little descriptor that you can say to the players, and then you can jump to one of the 4 encounters. Now, if you want to plan the encounters out, which you can run any one of the 4, or you can run 2, 3, or all 4 of them if you want. It's really up to you. Each one is different, each one is unique, and you might want to run one that fits more with your party, or run all 4. We have a couple of combat encounters as well as some interesting NPC encounters. So let's start with the first one. The first encounter that we have is Yesper Noggins. There he is here. Now, you'll notice this guy, there he is. I have him invisible. By the way, all the assets are already placed on the map for you. They're marked invisible, so you just have to mark them visible. Here's Yesper Noggins. Now, Yesper Noggins, you notice this man stumbling and mumbling as he comes towards you across the bridge. He's swinging this empty tankard in his hand, singing and paying the world no mind. He introduces himself as Yesper Noggins, and he speaks of himself in third person. Now, who is Yesper Noggins? Again, you can share this text, as you know, in all of my journal entries. Everything above this line, you can just show to players, and it'll show them. I also have an image of Yesper Noggins. There he is there, if you want to show the players what he looks like. Now, in the DM notes down below, Yesper Noggins is the town drunk from Vallaki, and he often wanders between the village of Vallaki and the village of Barovia. Sometimes he stops in the Tser pool camp with the Vistani. He's just looking for a place to sleep, some food, maybe some wine, tell some stories, listen to some stuff. But what's interesting about Yesper Noggins, which everybody seems to like, he's a friendly guy, is he always hears things. And so we have the Yesper Noggins random responses. Now, what's nice about this is it takes a lot of the burden off you as the game master, is because there's 20 things here that Yesper will say to your players. And what's really nice is that all you have to do is roll from this random table and see what Yesper tells your players. I'm going to do Jesper's voice, try to do a little voice acting here. Oh, I have a young friend named Doro. He's the son of Father Donovich over in the village of Barovia. I'm going to go visit him. Let's do another one here, just for fun. Oh, Lady Valker has more than her fair share of weirdos visiting her place at all hours. All hours of the night, there's a bunch of weirdos heading over to Lady Valker's house. Here we go, here's another one. That Hendrik Vandervoot, he's sure a depressing drunk. Spends too much time with those dead folk. So what you're doing is you're having a little fun role-playing here. And what he's doing is he's feeding your players little tidbits of information about individuals or locations. A lot of this stuff is happening in Vallaki. So your players are going to learn before they get to Vallaki. There's some guy named Henrik Vandervoot who's depressing and he spends too much time with the dead. That's like kind of weird and mysterious, right? Your players might want to take a note. This Lady Valker has a bunch of weirdos visiting her place at all hours. So Yesper Noggins is just sharing little tidbits and clues along your way to Vallaki. Here's another one here. Oh, Blue Water Inn's a nice place, but I much prefer the pies at Blackwater Tavern, if you know what I mean. Let's do one more here for you. There's an old spooky tower. It looks like ruins just west of Vallaki. Some kids disappeared some there years ago. So you have these little things you can say. So now they know there's a tower, some mysterious ruins tower, some kids disappeared. You've got this Blue Water Inn that's kind of nice, but there's a Blackwater Tavern. So all these little things are little funs to add. Now, what I have set up in here is he won't read the same thing over and over again. I've turned off draw with replacement. You just reset that and it locks them out. So that's the Yesper Noggins encounter, the friendly town drunk that'll share some information with you. All right, let's go to the next one here. The next encounter is we have the Fisherman Ahab. And what you're going to notice, I'll bring this map over here, onto the east side of the bridge, down by the shore, you're going to spot some guy fishing along the water, and there he is. And that's Fisherman Ahab. Now, this is obviously a play on Herman Melville's Captain Ahab. I just call him Ahab the Fisherman. And he's from the village of Barovia. He's eager to share his story about the large fish that got away. And he's come back fishing to try to catch that large fish that got away. Now, this is a fun encounter because it's a fishing encounter. And here's the mechanics that I put together for this. He has extra fishing poles and some hooks. Each player can go ahead and try their hand at fishing. And if they catch a fish, he is willing to buy them for 1 gold. So it's a way that your players can make a little money if they don't have any money. Now, the way it works is the player's going to roll a survival check, and on DC 15, they succeed and they catch something. And you roll the 1d4 here, and if it's a 1 through 3, it's a fish. But if you roll a 4, which is a 25% chance, you're going to roll from the random objects table. And here's the random objects table right here. So we're going to find out what you caught. So as soon as you do that, let me just do a quick reset. You're going to roll from this table, and what did you catch? Oh, a signet ring. So in this table, there are a bunch of, there's 12 items, of which 9 of these items are just interesting stuff. There's an amulet, a bell, but there is a magical ring of swimming. That's if you roll a 1 on this table. And then there's 2 combat encounters. One is an ice method, the other is Fisherman Ahab's big fish. So let's talk about if they catch the method. If they catch the method right here, and here it is, it'll automatically begin a combat encounter with the players. It'll come ashore. Now, Ahab, if there's any trouble, he's going to just take off. So he's going to run away. The method will begin attacking your players. You're going to go right into a combat encounter. Now, if they happen to catch Ahab's big fish, right, which happens to be this big shark right here, the player is going to roll a strength check, DC 18. If they fail that, they're going to get pulled into the water, and you're going to begin the combat encounter with Ahab's big fish. And he's actually right here already on, it's a shark actually. It's right there in the water, and you're going to have your combat encounter with Ahab's big fish. Otherwise, you'll be fishing, catching some fish, making some gold, or finding some interesting loot, including a magic ring of swimming. So let's go on to the next encounter here. This is the Guardians of Tser. Now you're going to notice on the bridge what DM Andy did, and I'll just zoom in because he just does a really good job. I'll just move this. You're going to see that he's got in the artwork these statues here. These kind of winged statues. There's like it's covered in lichen. In fact, if we look at the beginning of the scene here, it says the bridge spans 100 feet above the rushing river below. 2 large stone statues flank the bridge. Their demonic forms wore away by Mother Nature and covered in moss and lichen. Yet their presence sends a slight shiver down your spine. Well, what happens if you roll this encounter or decide to play this encounter, your players will hear a cracking sound of rocks. You turn and you notice the statues guarding the entrance of the bridge begin to move and advance on you. The statue's eyes glow red and they begin to attack. So the way you're going to run this encounter here is you're going to have only the statue closest to your party. The closest statue to your party, probably the one on the south side here, if your parties are coming up from the Vistani camp at the Tser Pools. And we're going to make them visible, and you're going to begin your combat encounter. Now the stat block on the Guardians of Tser are really an altered, slight modification to animated armor. And their feature is just a slam attack. They have a multi-attack slam attack. Now, only one of the Tser Guardians will appear and begin to attack the players. At the beginning of each round, you're going to roll a perception check, one for each of the other Guardians. And I'll just roll it here. And it's a DC 12. So each of the Guardians are going to roll a perception check. And if it's 12 or higher, so we're going to roll 3 of them because there's 3 more of them. Okay, 1 of them came alive, and it's going to join in combat. And so 1 of the other 3 joined in combat. So the beginning of each round, you're going to roll for the remaining statues to see if they come to life. Now, it's very possible that none of them come to life and the players leave, and those 3 remaining statues will be here again if the players come back. You can restart this entire encounter again. So this is a straightforward combat encounter with the Guardians of Tser. Now, number 4 takes place on this side of the map, and we'll bring that up. It's called Something Shiny. You notice something shiny sparkling under the water, perhaps gold or silver. You can't be sure at this distance, but it's something interesting and of value. So somewhere here between these 2 rocks is something shiny in the water that your players are noticed. Now the players are going to have to get down. I'm going to just use Yesper here. Players are going to have to get down to the edge of the water. Now what I've done here, if we look at our walls, I've made one-way vision walls that you can't move through. So if the player gets down here, he's not going to be able to see up at the top. If they get down in the water, you're not going to see at the top of the cliff. If you're at the top of the cliff, you can see down in the water. But if you're down here, you won't be able to see any of the players up here. Now, if the players if they get close to the water's edge, they can roll a perception check, DC 12, to see what it is. And if they succeed, they're going to see it's a treasure chest buried here, sitting under 20 feet of water out here between the rocks. Now, if they go out here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to roll, as the game master, dungeon master, this 1d4 plus 1 to determine how many of these ice mephits, 2 to 5 of these ice mephits, they're already here on the map. You're just going to make them visible here, and we got 4 of them. They're going to start advancing on your player. You're going to go right into combat encounter, depending on, you're going to have between 2 to 5 of them begin to move through the water. They appear from the mist. It says here, creatures rise from the mist of the waterfall and approach. So you've got 4 of these mephits approaching. You're going to go into combat encounters with the mephits. Now, the water is icy cold. The players who spend more than 3 rounds in the icy cold water will begin to suffer cold damage. Starting at round 4, the PC in the water, after 3 rounds in there, beginning on round 4, they're going to have to roll a Constitution saving throw of DC 12. If they fail, they're going to suffer 1d6 worth of cold damage for each round they remain in the water. The ice mephits are coming downstream in the icy cold water from the mountains and the snowmelt. This river that comes from the Baratok snowy mountains, and so it brings down these ice mephits through the rivers that will attack the players. Now, what is the treasure, you ask? Well, it's a ring of cold resistance, which is really nice, and 4 gold pieces are in this treasure chest in here. So we've got these 4 different encounters here. The Yesper, the village drunk, with some interesting lore. You've got the Guardians of Tser, the 4 statues that will come to life. You've got the Fisherman over here to do some fishing with his big shark. And you also have the treasure with the mephits that will rise from the mist of the waterfall and begin to attack your players if they get into the water here, try to get to the treasure. So I really hope you enjoyed the encounters at Tser Falls in this guide. Again, this guide is available in the Foundry Adventure module pack for the Patreon members. I also have a PDF guide with everything that you've just seen that I've typed in PDF guide again for my Patreon members. Thanks very much for watching. Please click like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And until next time, this is PyramKing, and may all your rolls be critically successful.